Hi guys, welcome to this week's Studio Hot Rods Restoration Revelations. This week we're going to be going over failures. A lot of people don't want to talk about the failures of these aftermarket parts. I almost had it upside down. Aftermarket parts that come right out of the box, and then there's performance failures as well. We've had Willwood failures, leaving me in the mountains. We've had, the quick performance rear ends right out of the box failing. Well, I put it in the car. I'll show you. Anyways, last but not least, we also had the CVF product fail on us as well. Anyways, we're going to be digging in deep and hard. Sometimes it's not just out of the box failures, it's a performance failure, like this Borla fuel injection system that I put on my car. It was the first car I built. It was a prototype. It's gorgeous. Fire breathing Dragon, rips, and yes, it gets more horsepower, and yes, it has some great features, but let me explain to you the pros and the cons right there. All right, let's get rolling. Like, subscribe, follow along. It's gonna be a good week. Shh, a lot of people don't talk about this stuff. Hope I don't get in trouble. All right, guys, so let's jump into the Borla fuel injection system that I was talking about on my 1969 Chevelle. The reason I'm standing in front of this car is this is one we're just finishing up right now. It's winter, we can't drive it, but it's done. It's ready to drive, and we dropped the Coyote motor in here, and she looks absolutely stunning. But why in the world am I talking to you about a Coyote motor when I'm talking about fuel injection on an LS motor? I'm gonna explain it to you really, really simple. So on the Coyote motor, that it comes stock with the stock intake manifold on it, the runners are as long as possible. Now the runners are what sits up under this cover right here. Actually, I can show you even a better one right here in this Corvette. Come on, we put a LS7 in this Corvette and it's about ready to get out of here too, but this is a great example. The runner system in the Corvette runs all the way across, and what a runner is the distance between the air intake and getting the air to roll really flat and straight towards the top of the cylinder head. So the longer the runner system is on it, the more torque you can actually get out of a motor. It's a very common thing, even in a truck with an LS style motor in it, like a Denali, they use a Vortec intake manifold. That, if you guys have seen that one, it sits really tall and really big. It's about that tall. Probably got one in inventory somewhere. But anyways, it runs the air all the way around that thing and it optimizes the torque. Now let's go back to my Chevelle and I'll show you exactly where the rubber doesn't meet the road with that Borla fuel injection. So right here you got the Borla fuel injection system that I'm talking about. These are your fuel rails, these are your fuel injectors, and then you got these little tiny runners. That's it before it hits the fuel injector. My point in that whole thing is it creates a lot of turbulence. The shorter the runner is, the longer the runner is, the more dynamic flow you get and the more torque you get. This Borla fuel injection system with the right tune at wide open throttle, like 6,800 RPM, 7,000 RPMs, will produce more horsepower than a more conventional intake like on the Corvette, like you see on that Chevelle right behind me. However, the usable torque range and response is not nearly as good as it is with the OEM stock intake manifold. So when you guys are looking at the aftermarket, the dark underbelly of aftermarket parts, would you rather have that not run as good, a little bit more horsepower at top end, or would you rather have something that's going to give you more utilitarian performance all the way around the horn? That's a huge learning that I took on my side. And guys, take that for what it's worth, because the OEM makes some really good parts. The next thing that fell apart on this car on me, and I struggled with really hard, was the water pump. Here's the old pump that was actually on my car. You can tell it's a CVF. Look, see the brand? CVF. Now listen, I want you to listen real close. I'll put this up on the mic. I hope you can hear that. That's actually the bearing in the assembly going bad, and it was leaking right out of there. That's called a weep hole. You can actually see the watermarks on it. See that right there? Because it was actually leaking. That was the second time this thing leaked. The first time it leaked, the seal wasn't good on the back side of the perimeter of it. So I put the whole engine in the car. I put the runner kit on it. I was so excited to get it out and going. And lo and behold, I'm leaking radiator juice right out the back side of it. And that's not an easy fix, because that whole thing, the whole assembly, had to come back off to seal back up. Anyways, it's not that it's bad. And if you're with CVF, I'm sorry, I mean to apologize to you, but I'm just telling you what I found, because my job is to drive the cars, run the cars, find the issues. Now this one, I had a problem with when I was in the mountains. Let me show you what that's all about. Having these beautiful cars, the only way you're really going to know if they're doing really well and they're going to be reliable is actually to run them and drive them. This is the first trip I took all the way out to Deadwood by Sturgis. That's Spearfish Canyon. It's just absolutely gorgeous out there. But I was starting to feel something a little wonky in my brake pedal. I'm like, what in the world is that? So I did a little investigation and check it out. That brand new Wilwood Master was leaking out the bottom. Ugh. Yep, I shipped one out next day and I replaced it right there when I was on site. I went back and I did a little forensic study on this. I wanted to find out why exactly did that thing fail. And what I found is where the rubber seals actually go in to that bore, where they drilled it from the top, there was a little tiny burr inside of there, and that was what was scraping and making it leak. Let me wrap up the last challenge I got with the Wilwood products. Now, I still do buy the Wilwoods. I do think they're very good, but you gotta inspect what you expect, right? So these are actually the organic version on the pads, because what I've noticed with high miles and a lot of drive time is once you bed your brakes, bedding your brakes means you heat them up, and then you get on them, and then you heat them up and you get on them. What you do is kind of breaking in your brakes so they'll actually stop better, stop gooder, right? But what I've noticed with high mileage and lots of use, that the hardened version that we were using that comes standard with the Wilwood kit, you'd bed them, they'd stop really good, but then it would like start to fade away and wouldn't stop as hard. And if you rebed the brakes, they would do better. But these are the organic version, so they wear a little bit faster, but they actually hook up a lot better. And for what I believe and what I've found in my testing so far is the organic version. It's a little bit dirtier, so you're gonna clean your rims a little bit more often, but they do seem to be able to stop a little bit better and a little bit more consistent. Anyways, let's go on to the next finding, right? I hope my lessons are giving you guys some good information as you're building cars, where to check and how to look for it. Rear ends. All rear ends are not created equal. Let me show you other things that cost us time and money, and it's part of the inspection process as we put the cars together. So if you're a builder and you do it yourself, use these tips and these tricks to look at these parts in the areas that I found that need inspection, right? This actually went back to Quick Performance. They fixed it for us and they sent it back to us. But let me show you how you inspect that and what the problem was. So when we mounted the rear end in the car, we felt like it was acting a little bit funky. So we took it back out of the car and I jigged it up in a fixture so we could actually measure it from end to end to see if those axle tubes are straight. Guess what? They weren't. And essentially that is what was really messing us up, and we had to pull it out and start all over. Let me explain to you exactly what I mean by the axle tubes not being straight in the car. Guys, just to sum that up, the reason that you got to make sure that that axle tube is totally straight is because what would happen, I'm going to turn around this way, we'll do it together, right? If your axle tube is straight, your tires are straight. But if your axle tube is actually bent back, like the one that I just showed you was, it actually makes for your tires to be in a toe out situation in the rear of the car, which means the rear end is never really going to track very well behind the front. This is called a live axle, a solid axle in back, and it isn't very adjustable, right? So you got to make sure that it's actually straight. On new cars with like front wheel drive or independent rear suspension, you can actually do four wheel alignments. However, a live axle in the back of an old Chevelle, you ain't adjusting it. You got to put it in there, you got to get it square, you got to get it straight, you got to get it right, or it ain't going to track right. That's the bottom line. So guys, at the end of the day, I'm not saying that any one of these brands is really all that bad. What I'm telling you is you got to inspect what you expect. You got to look at the products, and hopefully you've learned a lot from the things that I'm sharing with you. Look at those rear ends if you buy one. Think about using the organic, Wilwood brakes. That worked out really good for us. Or look and inspect the water pumps or whatever you're going to use. And if you could get it to say AC Delco on it and it's the OEM, I think they're a heck of a lot better than you're going to get anywhere else. Anyways, I told you in the beginning that you're going to have an opportunity to actually get some of our gauge tools for free. So what you're going to do is go down below, click the link, and then it's going to take you right to our website. Just put in your information and we'll send it to you. Don't go there and buy it. Just go there and get it for free. This tool is really cool because it's got these different, you got 1/8, 3/16. So what you could do is if you're building cars or working on cars, you could actually measure the gaps, front, rear of the door, with the trunk, with the hood. Don't take it to a car show and start measuring people's cars. They're not going to like you if you do that. Anyways, the end of the episode is always the most fun for me because I actually hop in and do a Bible study with you. This week we're going to be talking about faith and what faith actually looks like. Remember, If you need a Bible, just reach out to me. I'd be happy to send it to you. But let's go. We're going to read the book of Hebrews because that's what I've been studying in my Bible study, so I'll share it with you. Word in your heart changes your mind. So this is the book of Hebrews. It's Hebrews 11. Hebrews 11. That's in the New Testament. Nobody actually knows who wrote the book of Hebrews, by the way. Just thought you'd find that interesting. Bible study. See, you learn something here every day. A little bit of car parts, a little bit of the Bible. But this is kind of cool because, you know, you got to remember, we're all have problems. We all make mistakes. We're all screwed up in some way, shape, or form. But, you know, it's the faith that we have that God's real and He exists that actually changes your life because it changes the way you think about things. Let me explain it to you. Well, let me just read what the Word says and let it sit in here. All right, now faith is being sure of what we hope for and certain of what we do not see. This is what the ancients were commended for. By faith, we understand that the universe was formed at God's command, so that what is seen was not made out of what was visible. Crazy. It goes on a little bit further down in 11:6. And without faith, it's impossible to please God, because anyone who comes to Him must believe that He exists, and He rewards those who earnestly seek Him. I love the fact it says who earnestly seek Him. Like I said before, we're all broken in some way, shape, or form. But if you got a Bible and you read it and you ask God to help you through whatever situation that you're in, it can really, really change your life by seeking Him. Jesus died on the cross for your sins because you can't earn your way to salvation. It's already paid for. Jesus already got it. Front row and center, and you are covered by the blood of Christ. Anyways, thanks for watching this week's episode of Restoration Revelations. I encourage you to get a Bible, and if you need one again, reach out to me. I'll be glad to send you one. No charge. I'll just do it because I want you to have it. I want you to have peace in your heart. All right. See you next week. Fun stuff, right?